So today I'm going to describe two intimate encounters, one with a very penetration-focused lover and one with a very pleasure-focused lover. And this will give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about intimacy evolution and how it can impact our lives. Welcome to the Intimacy After Ostomy podcast. I'm your host, Trina Ricketts, the Intimate Ostomate. And today I'm going to talk about intimacy evolution. I believe there is a spectrum of our capacity for intimacy. If we were to completely boil it down as simple as possible to the most extreme end of the spectrum, this would be a person or a lover who's very penetration focused. And at the very extreme other end of the intimacy evolution spectrum would be a person who is very pleasure focused. So today I'm going to describe two intimate encounters, one with a very penetration focused lover and one with a very pleasure focused lover. And this will give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about intimacy evolution and how it can impact our lives. The reason that this subject became important to me is because I used to be very penetration focused. And when I went through health challenges and relationship challenges and surgeries that literally altered my body inside and out, I went through long periods of time when I was unable to engage in penetrative sex, and also periods of time where it could only be done a certain way, and there were limitations, and I couldn't have purely unbridled penetrative physical intimacy like I used to. This presented barriers not only for me and my mind to try and get around, but for my partners, because they too, like me, were conditioned to really focus on penetration as the central aspect of what physical intimacy is. Based on my experiences as someone who went years without touch, who worked in an industry where there were a lot of lonely men, I worked in the adult entertainment industry for a lot of my adult life. And coming from an intimacy coaching and surrogacy background, I developed this new idea of what physical intimacy really should stand for and what the focus really should be. Because penetration is not available to all of us. And even if it is, it's not always the best path forward when it comes to physical intimacy. There are a lot of amazing things that you can do with another person when you're naked that don't involve penetration. And I believe that it might be penetration that is the reason why you find a lot of women, as they get older, becoming less interested in physical intimacy. I'm venturing to guess because I haven't had this experience. I still very much want and desire physical intimacy, but I know there are women my age and older who no longer feel the desire for physical intimacy. And my question to them, if any of you are watching this, is it physical intimacy that you've lost interest in, or is it penetration that you've lost interest in? Because for many of us, penetrative sex becomes not so fun anymore after a while. It's not everything once you have found other ways to enjoy pleasure. As you evolve intimately, you begin to learn that penetration is only really good under certain perfect circumstances. And otherwise, it's often disappointing, not just for the woman, but also for the men. We all want the same thing when we're engaging in intimacy. We're all thinking the same thing. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, what you're thinking is my partner aroused? Is my partner enjoying this? Am I bringing pleasure to my partner? Am I disappointing my partner? The negative talk comes in. We're all thinking those things. All of us, when we're involved in an intimate encounter, the biggest thing that we want is to give our partner pleasure. So why do we focus so much on penetration? So I'm going to describe two intimate encounters, one at the extreme end of penetration focus, one at the extreme end of pleasure focus, and you can tell me what you think about what sounds like more fun to you. I think they'll probably both sound fun in a way. At least to me, they do. But there is, I think, something that you're going to see here that might surprise you. So, starting with the first type of lover, the woman is waiting at home and the man arrives. He walks in. He walks up to his woman, grabs her, starts to kiss her, puts his arms around her, and pulls her up against his body. He is trying to light a fire. This is how to light a fire. And for many of us women, it does light a fire. We're like, woo, this kiss is bringing me some promises I hope he can keep. But if he rushes now into, let's get the clothes off, let's get into position, maybe he grudgingly gives his woman an orgasm, hoping that she climaxes as quickly as possible so that he can move forward with his intentions. And he's meanwhile worrying that, he might not be able to keep his erection. So he's got to hurry and he's got to make sure this is high intensity arousal. So if he can't get that erection, then he'll definitely disappoint her, right? And if she doesn't want him to have sex with her, then that will definitely disappoint him, won't it? So we have two people, penetration focused. We're going to try to enjoy this penetration. And the P and the V get together pretty soon in this equation. If you can imagine like a quickie where it's like, ooh, I'm all hot and bothered, and you would come together and you kiss and you make out, and maybe you only expose those parts of yourselves that you need to engage in P in the V or whatever it is that you like penetration wise. And then when you're done, or at least you try to become done, let's say penetration is working, but climax is not working. This will become a lot of effort, especially because there hasn't been a lot of arousal time put into building that desire for both partners. And you'll see what I'm talking about later. So perhaps the man can't climax or the woman can't climax. Maybe one of them fakes, depending on if they can fake it or not. For instance, men who do not have ejaculation anymore when they climax, they could fake it. And women can usually easily fake it if they want to. Or maybe they don't fake it. Maybe one partner does climax. Maybe both partners climax. And it's just a frenzy of excitement. Maybe they even climax together and it's explosive and it feels so darn good. And they're like, whew, I needed that. Thank you. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So this is obviously at the extreme end of the penetration focus, right? This intimate encounter was all about the penetration. So now let's go into another intimate encounter with an extreme pleasure focused individual. So the woman is waiting at home and her man walks in the door and he says, look, honey, I got you this thing that I know that you love and a bottle of wine. Let's crack the bottle, or maybe you don't drink, I don't know. And then she says, thank you. And she arranges her flowers or whatever has occurred in those first few loving moments. I should say lovely moments. And then they talk for a few minutes. They smile, they laugh, they flirt, they tell each other how good they look, and maybe have a nice little teasing kiss. Ooh, okay, maybe things are starting to heat up just a little. Now, the intention, of course, is that they're going to engage in physical intimacy. So now they begin to touch a little more. Maybe she walks over into his arms as he's sitting at the kitchen table and puts her arms around his neck and pushes her clothed boobies in his face. I don't know. Will YouTube be okay with me describing this intimate encounter? But the point is that this is drawing things out, the slow burn. This is about creating and building desire, not rushing into it. You could still have really passionate, even really aggressive physical intimacy if that's how you like it. But let's get the juices flowing. Let's get things happening in the body and bringing ourselves into the present moment instead of thinking about performance. Then when you start to shift your focus to teasing and building desire and giving pleasure and receiving pleasure, then you stop focusing on, am I going to be able to get hard, or am I going to be able to have an orgasm during penetrative sex, or is it going to hurt this time, or whatever thoughts might be going through your head, depending on if you're male or female or what the situation may be. You're not thinking about that because you're just thinking about how good everything feels. I keep switching back and forth between they and you, but you know what I'm talking about. So this couple make it to the bedroom and they slowly undress each other. And as they undress each other, they focus on those body parts, the shoulder, the other shoulder, the neck, maybe a little topless embrace before we keep going. Maybe the panties stay on and the underwear stays on for a little while to provide that extra barrier between you and tease each other a little more. This is when you get creative, or they get creative. And as long as both partners are able to achieve a climax, then they may try to start to bring orgasmic pleasure to one another. But this also can be long and drawn out. If one person is getting massage, they can relax and get their massage without turning over right after it starts and trying to engage in physical penetrative intimacy right away. Or instead of feeling bad that the other person's giving them a massage and thinking that person is resenting them for it because they just want to get straight to the penetrative sex. When you're focusing on pleasure and giving pleasure and receiving pleasure, there are so many ways to do that when you're both alone and naked. Like, even if you're on the bottom receiving massage, you still have your arms and hands free to caress or tease or bring pleasure to your partner. This is this is a slow burn type of pleasure. This is where you're taking your time. There's no rush, and you may or may not experience a climax. You may or may not decide to engage in penetrative physical intimacy, and maybe you can't because maybe you're in a situation where I've been when that wasn't an option for me because of my health or what I was going through from a surgery and whatnot. It doesn't matter because you still are getting all of those sensations and the healing power of skin to skin contact. But you're also building this incredible bond with your partner because you're not just rushing through the act of physical intercourse. Now, I've described two extremely different types of lovers, and most of us are in the middle, as I said before. Most of us exist along the continuum of this intimacy evolution spectrum. Majority of us aren't just purely penetration focused, and the majority of us are not purely pleasure focused. But the more pleasure focused you are, it doesn't mean you leave penetration behind. Penetration can be a part of your intimacy if that is an option for you. Absolutely. But when you stop making it the focus of intimacy for you, that's when you become a much better lover. And that's when you build your bond with your partner a lot stronger. That's a really beautiful thing. We change over time. Our bodies change, our likes change. What we like in the bedroom changes as we get older, as our bodies change. This is a fact. We don't really have to hang on to what we used to have or what we used to do. We can move forward with what we have now and what we can do now. And because there are so many things we can do, it gets easier to let go of the things we can't do because they become less important. So the next time you're naked, I want to challenge you to say to your partner, I want to try something kinky. It's called no penetration physical intimacy. And I want you to focus on giving and receiving pleasure and draw it out for as long as you're both enjoying it and as long as you're not, in a hurry because you have other things going on. Be respectful of that if your partner has things to do, obviously. But try to just set aside some time and enjoy some non-penetrative physical intimacy. My suggestion is that you go to my website. I have a free downloadable intimacy menu. You can share it with your partner and go through it together and say all the things that you like to do when you engage in physical intimacy. There's a list right there, and you can say yes, no, and how much you like it or how much you don't like it. And it provides an opportunity for you and your partner to discuss your changing physical desire needs. We're not going to stay the same our whole lives. We're not going to have the exact same desires and turn-ons for our entire lives. We change as our minds change and our bodies change and our way of interacting with our lovers changes. We change. And that's why an intimacy menu is really exciting because you can update it. You can look at it again in 6 months or a year and say, actually, I'm not really into this so much anymore, but I'm really into this. Now, if you're comfortable communicating and you don't need an intimacy menu, that's great. And I highly encourage good communication. Communication can just look like, that feels good. Oh, can you do it this way instead? That hurts a little bit. Can you not do it like that? Or, ooh, that's wonderful. Don't stop. Oh, I like that. Or if you're having an orgasm, even saying, I'm coming. These are ways of communicating with your partner that you can teach them what you like and what you don't like. But if that's more scary, then I suggest getting the intimacy guide from my website. There are other free resources as well, and you can find them all at intimateostimate.com. Until next week.